everything went wrong. Just like everything went right, everything went wrong when I put on that dress.
What didn't go right with Big Mamas?
It was, first of all, no offense, that movie to me. It wasn't a prolific film.
Hey, if you're a fan of Big Mama's House, get ready for a wild ride because it looks like Martin Lawrence, the man behind Big Mama, might be facing some serious drama. The surprising twist is that Brandon Jackson, who played Trent Pierce in Big Mama's Like Father Like Son, seems to be at the center of this controversy. It's kind of crazy because it just shows we really don't know what's happening behind the scenes of our favorite movies. I mean, who would have thought Brandon Jackson would be the one airing Martin Lawrence's dirty laundry? It's like, what? Rumors are buzzing that Brandon's claiming Lawrence was forced to sell his soul. Pretty heavy stuff. Another thing is, it's worth noting that one would expect Brandon's career to soar after working with a big star like Lawrence. But nope, it apparently took a dive. Now, I get it if you're thinking, this sounds like a load of crap. But if you're up for a juicy story, grab some popcorn, kick back, and get ready to be seriously surprised. In a candid interview with Comedy Hype, Brandon C. Jackson openly shared his regret about wearing a dress alongside Martin Lawrence in Big Mama's House. Reflecting on that time, he admitted, "Everything went wrong when I put on that dress." According to Jackson, the pre-Big Mama's era marked a turning point in his career, and while it brought positive aspects like increased visibility, it also had negative consequences for his personal life. When asked about the changing point, Jackson clarified that it was a negative shift. Sure, his face was plastered on buses, but behind the scenes, his personal life was a mess. According to him, it was a pretty horrible time. The interviewer pressed him to spill more details, and Jackson got real about not being able to share his story eloquently back then. It's like being a baby who can't communicate yet. He wasn't the seasoned stand-up he is now. Looking back, he revealed that during the Big Mama's House period, he met his daughter's mother. And from that point, his personal life became challenging. Although his career was at its peak, it was a tumultuous time for him personally. Jackson likened it to a passing of the torch, playing Martin Lawrence's son, and noted that playing such roles seemed to bring unexpected challenges. When asked what went wrong with Big Mama's House, Jackson didn't sugarcoat it. He expressed that, in his opinion, the movie wasn't that good and wasn't a prolific film. While acknowledging the entertainment factor, he pointed out that the concept of a man in a dress had been overdone, citing Miss Doubtfire as a precedent. Jackson admitted he took on the role primarily for the money and the opportunity to work with Martin Lawrence. It was entertaining, but not exactly an Oscar-worthy masterpiece. Continuing the conversation, Brandon C. Jackson emphasized that his decision to wear the dress in Big Mama's House was motivated by more than just money. He was eager to make a big move in his career. The interviewer then shifted the focus to Brandon's current perspective, noting that he seems more awakened compared to when he first entered the industry. Bringing up the dress again, the interviewer asked if Brandon faced criticism at that moment.
Only Cat Williams. Cat Williams was trying to always say, Brandon, don't wear a dress.
He called you, or is this?
No, he was saying it in the media, so I thought he was heckling me. He was really trying to help me at the time. I didn't know that. I was immature.
Brandon clarified that he didn't receive backlash from people except for Cat Williams, who consistently advised him against wearing a dress. Initially, Brandon thought Williams was just heckling him, but later realized that Williams was genuinely trying to help him. Brandon admitted his own immaturity at the time, feeling defensive about pursuing his career while facing criticism. Williams, it turned out, was attempting to warn him about the potential pitfalls of getting into a dress. The interviewer then asked if, given his current awakened mindset, there's any amount of money that could convince him to wear a dress. Brandon firmly stated that no amount of money could sway him. Further questioning revolved around how the introduction of the dress played out in his career. Brandon explained that after a scene in Lottery Ticket where he didn't wear a dress, the industry started pushing the idea onto him. He drew parallels to Tupac's experience, suggesting that when someone is perceived as too real, the industry attempts to control that authenticity by putting them in a dress. When asked about the purpose of putting actors in dresses, whether it's to tone down their realness, Brandon expressed a personal perspective. He believed that wearing a dress is not part of his cultural background, and people from different cultures may impose their norms. He considered it a curse for him personally, as things went downhill in his life and career since then. Despite the challenges, Brandon stood firm in his belief, emphasizing that everyone has the right to choose based on their culture and beliefs. Continuing the chat, Brandon Jackson brought up how even Dave Chappelle has shared thoughts on this topic. He mentioned noticing changes in Martin Lawrence, emphasizing it's not a dig, just an observation. Brandon acknowledged the fire and energy Martin once had, comparing it to his own experience of getting older, but still feeling lively. He threw in Eddie Murphy, noting that despite being older, Murphy still carries that fire, suggesting it might be more about age. When asked if Martin's change could be due to the business wearing him out, Brandon shared his belief that it's more of a spiritual thing. He emphasized that everyone's journey is different, and he can only speak for himself. Brandon candidly explained that for him, putting on the dress seemed to extinguish the fire he once had. He reflected on doing it only once, while others like Martin wore dresses multiple times, and Tyler Perry, in particular, seemed to grow stronger from it. Brandon humorously admitted he doesn't know the rules governing these experiences. The interviewer questioned if Brandon would warn fellow stand-up comedians about wearing a dress, to which he affirmed in a laid-back way. He expressed that while some people can handle it, it didn't work for him, so he wouldn't advise others to take that gamble. Brandon even threw in a lighthearted remark about wanting a time machine to go back and give his past self a good punch in the chest. Adding to what Brandon mentioned about Cat Williams warning him about wearing a dress, Cat Williams recently spilled some tea on a podcast. You might have caught wind of it because Cat Williams has the internet buzzing after appearing on the Shay Shay podcast hosted by Shannon Sharpe. During the chat, Williams didn't hold back and dropped some bombshells about his fellow comedians, including the legendary Martin Lawrence. In this conversation, Cat Williams claimed that Martin Lawrence allegedly tried to get him into a dress. Now, if you're not in the loop, there's been talk circulating for a while that black comedians at some point feel pressured to wear a dress in films. Some see it as a sort of buck-breaking, or a way to prove to Hollywood that you're willing to do whatever it takes to make it. It's definitely making waves and sparking discussions online. Let me break down the origin of buck-breaking real quick. Back in the day, mainly in the Caribbean, slave owners used this messed-up tactic against male slaves who were seen as rebellious. Picture this: they'd make the enslaved guy drop his pants, bend over a tree stump, and then whip him real bad. The goal? Weaken him so he couldn't resist the R that followed. Yeah, it's heavy stuff. The white slave owner would go ahead and do the unspeakable, right in front of the enslaved man's wife. Imagine the trauma of that. Now fast forward to today, and you see a similar vibe. Strong black men, even in Hollywood, ending up in dresses, just like they did back then. It messes with your head, especially for kids seeing these role models switching up like that. It's like they're playing mind games, doing it in front of fans, family, the whole deal. That's the connection folks are making, history repeating itself, but in a different form. It's kind of funny, in a messed up way. You notice the pattern? They always bring in these strong black manly dudes first. Like they weren't dressing up in high school or middle school, always rocking that masculine vibe. And it's not about being gay or whatever. If that's your style, no judgment. But we're talking about straight black men here. Check out how they enter Hollywood, all strong and confident. Then peep how they leave. It's a whole different scene. And you can't just blame the industry alone. These guys make the choice to go along with it. They willingly bow down to the agenda just to level up. We gotta hold them accountable too, you feel me? They're ready to do anything for that next level, even if it means going through this weird ritual. The industry's like, how bad do you want this money? Are you down to sell out your people, push a certain agenda, and emasculate yourself in front of everyone, just like the buck breaking back in the day? But now it's crazy. These dudes are willingly allowing it. Times have changed, and now it's a choice.
You know, we get in that office and this fool pull out Big Mama's House too. I almost died. And I gotta read this script in front of all these good white people.
So, when Cat Williams was chatting with Shannon Sharpe, he dropped some serious revelations about a conversation he had with Martin Lawrence. Williams spilled the beans that Martin tried to get him to wear a dress for Big Mama's house, like father, like son. But Cat wasn't having it, and after turning down the offer, they went with Brandon C. Jackson instead. According to Williams, Martin came to him during a hiatus saying, "Cat, when I come back, I need you. You're my young partner, my young brother in comedy. I need you. Promise me my next movie, it will be me and you. We're going to do it together. We're going to do some buddy cop SHT." Cat, being the stand-up guy he is, said, "Martin, you got my word. When you come back, I'm in your movie. Don't trip. I don't need to see the script or nothing." Fast forward, and Martin announces during a meeting with white executives that he wants Cat Williams to join him for Big Mama's House, like father, like son in 2011. Now here's the kicker. Cat is handed the script, and it's all about him getting in a dress with Martin again. Williams was baffled, asking everyone in the room, why is he in a dress again?
I'm doing a movie with Martin.
Yeah.
The movie's going good. So I walk in the trailer. I'm like, man, this must be the wrong trailer because there's a dress in here.
Now, interestingly enough, this story would remind us of the time Dave Chappelle would share that he too was approached to wear a dress. And guess what? It's got a Martin Lawrence connection. Chappelle would break his silence back in 2006 while speaking with Oprah. He walks into the trailer and sees a dress, thinking it's the wrong one. Turns out it's for a scene where Martin's character sneaks out of jail by dressing Chappelle as a prostitute. Chappelle's like, "Nah, I'm not doing that. It wasn't in the discussion." They try to pressure him, saying it's a hilarious bit, but he stands his ground, saying he doesn't need a dress to be funny. The whole thing gets intense with writers, directors, and producers pushing, but Chappelle sticks to his guns. In the end, they come up with a new scene without the dress, and he's left wondering, how did you write that so fast? Dave just didn't vibe with it, not because wearing a dress is an issue on its own, but because he felt the industry was trying to corner black artists into doing whatever it took for success. They kept hounding him until they figured out he wouldn't budge. Dave revealed this whole experience was an eye-opener. It took being told to wear a dress for him to connect the dots and realize this wasn't just his struggle. Lots of other black men had been asked to do the same. Martin Lawrence rocked it in Big Mama's House. Eddie Murphy pulled it off in the Nutty Professor series, and Jamie Foxx left a mark with his unforgettable Ugly Wanda on In Living Color. Then you've got the Wayans brothers trying their hand at it with White Chicks. Oh, and we can't forget the less successful Juwanna Man. In the mix of all this, Tyler Perry takes the cake with his Medea franchise. Also, when asked about Dave Chappelle's claim that black men were being pushed to humiliate themselves for money, Kevin Hart was all about protecting his brand and not crossing any boundaries in 2012. He proudly declared he'd never do something he didn't want to do just for money. Fast forward a year, and boom! Kevin pops up on an SNL skit rocking a dress. Now, maybe it wasn't a big deal for Kevin, but it's a bit odd, right? After all, he did make a public statement about not crossing his boundaries, and then there he is on live TV in a dress. Also, it turns out Martin Lawrence isn't the picture-perfect guy some folks make him out to be. He's had his fair share of run-ins with the law, lawsuits, and health issues, throwing a few bumps into the road of his otherwise star-studded career. Let's break it down. While filming A Thin Line Between Love and Hate in July 1995, he went on a violent rampage, ending up in the hospital at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center. Then, in May 1996, he got arrested for waving a pistol in the middle of an LA intersection, screaming about someone trying to him. Exhaustion and dehydration were blamed, landing him back in the hospital. But wait, there's more. In July 1996, he tried to take a gun on a flight, earning himself 2 years of probation and a fine. Fast forward to January 1997, and his Martin co-star Tisha Campbell Martin filed a lawsuit against him, alleging SA. By April 1997, they settled, and she returned for the last 2 episodes of the series. Oh, and in March 1997, he got arrested for punching a guy in a Hollywood nightclub. And just when you thought it couldn't get wilder, in August 1999, Lawrence slipped into a 3-day coma after collapsing from heat exhaustion while preparing for Big Mama's House. He was jogging in 100-degree F heat, wearing heavy clothing and a plastic suit, recovering from a near-fatal coma with a body temperature of 107-degree F. He definitely had his fair share of the dark side of Hollywood. Taking it back to the early days, Martin Lawrence kicked off his career doing comedy shows in the Washington, D.C. area, juggling odd jobs to make ends meet. It was comedian Rich Snyder who spotted his act and suggested he make a move to New York. Landing at the Improv Comedy Club, Lawrence caught the eye of Columbia Pictures television execs after a performance on Star Search. This led to his first acting Morris Warfield in What's Happening Now? After a series of bit parts, Lawrence hit the big time with his role as C in Do the Right Thing. He went on to star in films like House Party 2, Talkin' Dirty After Dark, and the Eddie Murphy flick Boomerang. Russell Simmons handpicked him to host the groundbreaking series Def Comedy Jam on HBO, catapulting comedians like Chris Tucker, Dave Chappelle, Mike Epps, Bernie Mac, and Cedric the Entertainer to mainstream fame. In the midst of Def Comedy Jam, Lawrence headlined his own hit series, Martin, which ran from 1992 to 1997 and became a Thursday night sensation on Fox, competing with NBC's must-see TV lineup. Despite some controversial moments, like his crude remarks on SNL in 1994, Lawrence's ratings soared, making Fox a serious contender against NBC. In 1995, he teamed up with Will Smith for Bad Boys, solidifying his status as a Hollywood heavyweight. After bidding farewell to Martin in 1997, Lawrence ventured into comedy films, often taking on prominent prominent roles alongside stars like Eddie Murphy, Danny DeVito, and Tim Robbins. His filmography boasted box office hits such as Nothing to Lose, Life, Blue Streak, Big Mama's House, and Bad Boys 2. While he encountered both successes and flops like Black Knight and National Security, Lawrence's paycheck steadily climbed, reaching over $10 million per film. Continuing his film journey, Lawrence starred in sequels like Big Mama's House 2, which dominated the North American box office, and Wild Hogs, 2007, a biker comedy alongside John Travolta, Tim Allen, and William H. Macy. In a surprising move, Lawrence embraced family-friendly content in 2008 with the G-rated film College Road Trip, co-starring with Raven-Symoné. Returning to his FBI agent character, he featured in 2011's Big Mamas, Like Father, Like Son, the third installment in the series. The small screen beckoned in 2013 as Lawrence and Kelsey Grammer considered teaming up for a comedy series, Partners. Premiering in 2014, the show faced a premature end due to unfavorable reviews. Fast forward to 2020, Lawrence made a triumphant return as Detective Marcus Burnett in Bad Boys for Life, the third Bad Boys installment alongside Will Smith. The film's impressive financial success led to Lawrence reprising his role in a dramatic capacity with 2022's Mind Cage, featuring alongside Melissa Roxburgh and John Malkovich. The Hollywood Walk of Fame honored Lawrence with a star on April 20th, 2023, marking another milestone in his illustrious career. Quite a journey from the Martin days, wouldn't you say? But despite the wonderful journey he had, there are some whispers going around that Martin Lawrence might not be as sweet as he appears. Take, for example, the case of Garrett Morris, who apparently faced a rough patch in Hollywood allegedly because of Martin Lawrence. The two comedians crossed paths on the TV sitcom Martin, which was a big hit from 1992 to 1997, topping Fox's ratings. During their 3-season collaboration, Lawrence was the main man, and Garrett provided the comic relief. All seemed well until Garrett snagged a role on Jamie Foxx's show, signaling the end of their brilliant comedic duo. The story takes a dark turn when Garrett Morris got shot in broad daylight, leading to 2 years of suffering and wheelchair-bound life. The incident wasn't your typical robbery. It went south when the attackers didn't just ask for money, but went for a sneak attack from behind. Garrett Morris went through some serious struggles after getting shot. He spilled the beans on his hardships, sharing, "I got shot in my intestine and it messed me up big time." To make matters worse, he had to deal with a colostomy bag for around 8 months and underwent a whopping 10 major operations in the following months. Talk about a tough ride. But wait, there's more. Just when you thought it couldn't get any worse, Garrett got hit with another blow. He found out he was getting the boot from the show, Martin. And it wasn't just the writers who wanted him out. Some NBC bigwigs were in on it too. Imagine being in the hospital, recovering from multiple surgeries, and getting the news that you're up.
Basically, while I was actually in the hospital, for some strange reason, they decided to get rid.
In the midst of his struggles, Garrett confronted the situation with surprising resilience. Even after learning he was being let go, he didn't let it break his spirit. He recounted, "While I was in the hospital, for some strange reason, they decided to get rid of me." Despite the setbacks, Garrett faced the challenge head on. He said, "During that time, I think it was my 4th operation, that the person who was producing the Martin show, that I got the news that I was being let go. I received the script and it said that Stan sells the radio station, and I asked, does this mean that I'm gone? And of course the answer was yes. The guy is like a superhero, robbed, shot, fired, and still standing strong." Reflecting on his hospital time, Garrett shared a powerful mindset. "Whether you feel good about dying or bad about dying, you're going to die anyway, so make up in your mind that you're going to feel good until the very end." The actor continued saying, "The same thing goes for when something bad happens in your life. You need to find what best motivates you to overcome, and because. And for me, being depressed at that time in my life, I knew depression wasn't going to do it." Garrett didn't mince words about not getting the right treatment from the show's management, but instead of dwelling on it, he decided to keep the negativity out of his space. As he put it, "I knew I had been wronged, I knew I had been mistreated, and I could have done things differently, but why even bring that energy back into your space?" In a Netflix show called Strong Black Lead, Garrett finally let it all out and pointed fingers at the folks who messed with his career in the 90s. He spilled the beans that the person in control of the whole sitcom was none other than Martin himself. Garrett expressed his surprise and disappointment at getting the boot, stating, "But the man who produced Martin basically was Martin Lawrence, and after I had no bad words with him. Still to this day, I do not understand why he decided to fire me while I was in Daniel Freeman Hospital." And wait for it. Garrett also lifted the curtain on Martin Lawrence's alleged hypocrisy. He countered Martin's claims of visiting him in the hospital and being concerned. According to Garrett, Martin not only fired him while he was in the hospital, but also went around telling people in interviews that he came, sat by his bed, and shed a few tears. Garrett Morris was asked about retirement plans, and his response was a solid nope. According to him, when you've got places to be and things to do, your body just automatically gears up to get going. He's all about staying active, and he plans to keep at it until he hits 98 or 99, at which point he might decide, nah, I don't feel like doing that tomorrow. Now that's some serious commitment and a good dose of humor from Garrett. The guy is clearly a force to be reckoned with. Strong willpower, courage, and a dedication to his craft that's truly commendable. It's evident that he's all about delivering top-notch content. Now let's talk a bit about the elephant in the room, Martin Lawrence and Garrett Morris. Both comedy giants, no doubt, but you know how it goes. Competition is a driving force in the world of entertainment. Now, there's been some fan-created drama, theories flying around suggesting there might be some between the two comics. Some folks even believe Martin feared Garrett could outshine him, leading to the sudden firing. As a fan, this might be a lot to take in, but share your thoughts on this intriguing saga involving another Martin project in the comments below. What's your take on the situation? Let's chat about it and stay tuned for the next video.